I believe the Sacramento Kings should trade De'Aaron Fox, and this is the reason why, and that's based purely on offense, because, I mean, if you even were to also consider the defense, think about De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk, both negative defenders. They don't work together, especially in the fourth quarter. They do not work together on defense at the same time. You always need a Devin Carter, a Keon Ellis. So this is why I think they should just take De'Aaron Fox out of the equation. So just give the ball to Sabonis more. That's your identity. The Kings, they're a good team when he's on the court, and they're bad when he's not on the court. They're negative. So, simple solution is just give the ball to Sabonis more and play him more. And we can further investigate that, because player impact is the total events a player contributed to. And here's the top 10 guys in the league. Now here's their usages. And now look at Sabonis' usage, a low 22.1%. So he's doing the most when he gets the ball the least, so give him the ball more. So my proposition is to give him a 30% usage rate instead of a 22.1%. And how we're going to do that is through the pick and roll. So when Sabonis is the pick and roll guy, they're averaging 1.25 points per pick. You're looking at a 65.7% effective field goal percentage for Sabonis, a 59.8 score frequency percentage. I mean, these stats are mind-blowing. They're so efficient. They're right up there with anyone in the league. If this is what you're doing better than anyone else in the league, this is your identity. The Sacramento Kings should do this more than anything else they run. Okay, let me ask you this question. Do you think De'Aaron Fox can be the number one option on a championship team? In my opinion, I don't think so. Can Domantas Sabonis be a number one option on a championship team? In my opinion, yes. And the stats totally back it up. So for your full bloody support behind him. So right now he's averaging 20.6 points a game, 13.8 rebounds a game, and 6.1 assists per game. Already like really good numbers. But we're going to take that, we're going to do an equation to it. And we're going to take his current usage rate, and we're going to establish his new usage rate, which is going from 22.1% to 30%. And these are the new stats we get. So now we're talking about a guy who's top 5 in points. We're talking about a guy who's top 1 in rebounds. And we're talking about a guy who's top 2 in big men assists. Top 7 if we include all of the guards as well. And these new stats feel like MVP conversation type numbers. So my question to the Kings is, why not make him one? Okay, so point number 2 then becomes they've got to figure out what they're doing in the fourth quarter, and they have to figure out their identity in clutch minutes. I suggest that by taking De'Aaron Fox out of the equation, what you're doing is you're taking out 35.8% of the usage in the important minutes of the game, and you can distribute it everywhere else, whether that's to Sabonis, to DeRozan, to Keon Ellis, to Malik Monk, even Keegan Murray. Because I think it's important to have a conversation about Clutch Player of the Year. How does it even work? It's based on a small sample size of key moments. Hitting or missing just a couple of shots can totally swing that award. It's more about clutch usage rate and opportunity than purely skill. For example, De'Aaron Fox winning could just mean the Kings gave him the ball late in games, even if it wasn't their most efficient choice. They might have won more by relying on other players instead of their quote-unquote clutch star. By now, you've probably heard this clip from Lou Williams, but we'll play it anyway.
You know, I was even hearing whispers that there was a situation where he might have asked, or suggested that even DeMar DeRozan come off the bench, and those things proved to be severe missteps in an already challenging season.
And when we walk a little further down the path of pointing out the problems, the Kings are 9 wins, 13 losses in clutch games. De'Aaron Fox, 8 wins, 13 losses. But point being, the Kings should be a lot better. If you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, they're 12 wins, 2 losses in clutch games. This is why they're so good of a team. The Kings just have not found a way to win in the fourth quarter. This is where the solution comes in, and this is for me, how do we maximize everyone in the fourth quarter? How do we maximize everyone in clutch minutes? How do we maximize DeMar DeRozan? Because let's make it abundantly clear. When Lou Williams was talking about clarity and roles, this has to be the biggest thing we address under the new regime. It needs to be so clear and defined in the roles that Sabonis is the number 1 option in the clutch, and after that, number 2 is DeMar DeRozan. Those are our first 2 primary and secondary scoring options. I think the important thing to note with DeRozan is from when he was playing with the Bulls last year to when he's playing now this year, his efficiency hasn't dropped, his shooting numbers haven't dropped. only his opportunities at the free throw line have. I mean, he was consistently over 7 free throw attempts for the last 5 years of his career, every single year, and now he's only shooting 5.4 per game. Like, we gotta find ways to get DeRozan to attack the basket more. Okay, shot charts. DeRozan, Sabonis, Fox. The thing that sticks out to me the most here is DeRozan and his true shooting. He shot 72% inside the restricted area last year, and this year it's 85%, so he's actually gotten slightly better. So simply put, you got to find ways to give him more touches inside the restricted area. Last year, his frequency inside there was 22%. This year, it's 11%. That's where he is not drawing as many free throws this year from last year. I think another thing they can do is I think they can just simply give DeMar DeRozan more minutes. Last year with Chicago, even though he was 34, he was leading the league in minutes at 37.8 a night. This year, he's sitting all the way down at 23rd in the league at 35 minutes a game. So that's a small change there, but I think it would help. Let me further back this up. So let's look again at clutch stats, but let's look at the efficiency. De'Aaron Fox, in the last 5 minutes, when the game is 5-point differential or less, 45% field goal percentage, 27 from 3, 70% at the free throw line. DeMar DeRozan, 48, 41, 89. Sabonis, 57, 57, 71. It is so clear that Sabonis and DeRozan are more efficient in the nitty-gritty of the game. And, I mean, look, ChatGPT tells me it's rule number 8, that you gotta give it to your best player in the clutch. So, what are they doing? So that's point 2. Clarify roles in the clutch, get De'Aaron Fox out, clear up moments of magic for the Kings. And the third point here is Keegan Murray, because Keegan Murray's role in the offense has not been defined the last 3 years. I mean, half the time it's like, what is he doing out there? He doesn't look confident. And I think we're talking about a guy who in college was one of the best, in the last 5 to 10 years of college basketball, one of the best offensive college basketball players. And on top of that, his defense was also really good. How is this not translated? What a good coach can do is build a player's confidence up, encourage them, and then back up that confidence by giving them the opportunity to go out there and execute it. His rookie year, he took 64% of his shots were threes. Then next year after that, it was 52%. The next year, 51%. You can see he's just losing a bit of confidence. So why is Keegan Murray scared to shoot? Now, the first thought that traces my head is, could it be because of away versus home games? And that does correlate. So away games for the last 2 years, he's sunk only 30% of his threes, when at home it's 38%. So there's definitely something to that, and you can see his stats also reflect that as well. If you look now, separate it between quarters and halves, in the first half he's taking 3 threes a game, and in the second half he's taking 2.4 threes a game. The disparity between the second half and the first half 3 attempts is a little concerning, but for me the bigger red flag is that it's all too low. He should be taking 3 threes a quarter. So we know this is a guy who can already be shaky with his confidence, and we know he also feeds off the home crowd energy. We know that at a baseline, if he's shooting, no matter what, it's going to stretch the floor. So there's no point in taking less threes. He should only take more. And I can only assume it's so frustrating for him to go as a prolific scorer on a very good college team to just standing in the corner and missing more and more threes every year. Of course it's going to hurt a player's confidence. When you are involved in 5% of the action in the clutch, you have almost no control over the outcome of the game. It's completely unfair to his talents to just throw them aside into a corner. It's also a fault of the Kings roster construction because he's often the only major threat from 3 out there on the court. And so having 4 guys around him who can shoot would allow him obviously way more freedom to operate how he wishes offensively. And so it leads me back right to my main claim. Take Fox out of the equation, and we can grow the offense even more. And so I'd follow that up by saying, steal the Charles Lee and the Hornets approach and replicate that with Keegan Murray, which is fire at will. LaMelo is shooting 0.39 threes a minute, Brandon Miller 0.32. In comparison, Keegan Murray is shooting 0.15 threes a minute. It's a guy who once hit 11 straight threes. He hit 12 overall in one game. He should be taking over 10 threes a night and not 6. There should be no pressure on the outcome. If those threes make or miss, just take 10 plus a night. It's also interesting to look at the best lineups for the Kings and the success those lineups have had, and you'll notice that in almost all these lineups, they contain Keegan Murray being a part of the lineup. This shows me that Murray can obviously be a huge catalyst to the success of the team. And so I think the summary for Keegan Murray is simply this. He was so good offensively in college, but in the NBA, he's just become more and more reluctant every year. Become a guy on offense, a pilot, not just a passenger sitting in the corner. Play like he's a significant scoring option, because at the end of the day, he should be. Keon Ellis is really, really good. I think he's their second best player outside of Domantas Sabonis. The advanced stats show he's the best on the team, but obviously he's played less minutes than Sabonis. But his differential on and off is incredible. He's got the best on-court offensive rating. Out of the core players, he's got the best on-court defensive rating. His three-point percentage is sick. His true shooting's really good. I love the three-point rate. Look at a defensive rating graph of all the Kings players, and then look at Keon Ellis, right? When Keon is on the court in the starting lineup, he's playing great defense. He's complementing the offense. He only takes up 12% of the usage, and you can afford to give DeRozan, Keegan, Sabonis, Fox, if he stays on the team, more touches. There's really no stats that don't like Keon Ellis. It's a focal piece to incorporate him, and it seems like Doug Christie is doing that and realizing that, and the whole NBA media is realizing that. I tweeted about it in the summer as a standout player, but someone who should have started day one of the NBA season. I continue to stand on that now, and I argue that obviously he should be a starter for the rest of the season and every game, playing 35-plus minutes every game. If we can trade De'Aaron Fox and get assets for him, I say why not? I mean, I'll show you 4 trades that I found on Fanspo, the trade machine. The first one's with the Spurs. I'd take that in a heartbeat. Getting Stephon Castle, getting Keldon Johnson, and 4 firsts. Easy money. Fox and Huerter for Van Vliet and Whitmore. I don't think I'd take this trade, but add a Reed Shepherd or Jabari Smith Jr. or add a few first-round picks on top of it, and it makes it kind of appealing. Jimmy to the Hawks, Fox to the Heat. This one, clearly the Hawks say no, but the Kings return. I don't hate that return. 5 first-round picks and Goga Bitadze for De'Aaron Fox. Sign me up. And then if I'm going to take away a man's job, I'm going to have to give another man a job. So my pick for that is Hason Ward. He played at VCU with Vince Williams for 3 years and Bones Highland for 2 years. And then he transferred to Iowa State for 2 years. And they took off going 29 wins, 8 losses in his final season. I still don't think he played as much as he should have in that season. The guy's undervalued. He doesn't stretch the court. He's 6'9", so he's overlooked. Right, Sacramento signed him in the offseason after the draft. They let him walk to the Celtics G League roster. He's only playing 18.4 minutes in the G League. You watch the games, his instincts are incredible. Man is playing well when he's in, just like when he was at VCU. I mean, the guy's just a winner. 0.5 offensive win shares and 0.5 defensive win shares in the G League in limited minutes. He's a defensive beast. It's perfect for the Kings. It's something they could totally use. It would give the option to push Keegan Murray out to the 3, stretch the court even more. You could throw out a lineup of Monk, DeRozan, Murray, Ward, Sabonis, and in my opinion, that actually works really well. But it's totally worth giving him a shot because they need more defense. He would come in as one of their best defenders, if not the best. And to me, that's valuable. That earns a roster spot. His block percentage, 13.5% in G League. That would rank the best in the NBA. His win shares, insane. Defensive specialists are often overlooked in favor of offensive upside, but defense wins games, and Ward can bring that edge to Sacramento. So here I present you my updated rotation and what my minute distribution would look like. It doesn't require a massive overhaul, and let's make one thing clear. They're not in basketball dumpster fire. Devin Carter should be extremely impactful as a rookie and a great defender off the get-go. The roster doesn't need an overhaul. They can be competitive with the guys they have now, but they have to maximize the group of guys they have in order to build a title contender.